like they say, like manifesting stuff. I'm like, oh, fuck, this happened. Oh, my life is ruined. Oh, I don't have my license. I live in a town where there's no public transportation. I have to call the drug court line Monday through Friday. And I'm working overnights. I'm working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. That line opens up at 7:30 in the morning. And then I have to find a ride to go get drug tested.
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Our guests today are Jared, Blaine, and Brianna Elizabeth. Jared and Brianna are both mental health and recovery addicts and the co-host of the Blaklist podcast, which is where they work to uncover the unfiltered truths of everyday life, one conversation at a time. Jared, Brianna, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So like a little bit of background for my listeners who didn't know. I went on your podcast a few weeks ago and we talked for several hours, I think it ended up being, but I was happy to ask you guys to come on as well so we could hear a little bit about your story after I spent so much time telling you mine. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
We're excited. We're just like, a lot of our guests will tell us they're like, we say yes to like everything. So it's kind of like us, as long as if it helps somebody, we'll say yes to do it.
Yeah, you got to be careful
say yes
of
out
that.
of obligation too. The yes was genuine.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, when people come on my show, I feel like I gotta go. So my favorite question to ask all my guests is what they wanted to be when they were growing up and how that led them to where they are now. And one of the reasons I like asking that is because I love seeing people's big dreams and then seeing where they land. And then also, because when you're a kid, you have like big, crazy dreams of what you're going to do with your life. So why don't we start with you, Brianna? What did you want to be when you were a little kid and how did that change to where you are now?
I always remember answering that I wanted to be a nurse. I don't know why. I just always wanted to be a nurse. I always wanted to help other people and be of service. And, I like meeting an array of people. And, I guess I'm not a nurse today, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. I'm helping people and I'm meeting all sorts of people from different walks of life and just, even if it's just an ear to listen, I'm helping other people. And it's not, like I said, it's not a nurse, but it's pretty darn close.
Well, it also is funny when I ask people these questions is there usually is that thin line from somewhere in their childhood with like, maybe not what they're doing, but what they were inspired to about that job. Like for me, it was storytelling. And I thought I was going to be a filmmaker or a professional wrestler or something, right? Or at one point the president or a journalist. And then I ended up doing marketing, which is all like storytelling, right? And then, this here too. So I think that's cool. Helping people was your red line that went through it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jared, what about you?
I kind of had a double. So, and that's just the way that life worked out. So anyways, my first thing that I ever wanted to be was a musician. Naturally, I've been doing music since I was a kid. I've always been inspired by music, and I actually did go on to be a musician, but I wanted to be like a successful, the whole typical rock star type thing and whatnot. But I use that, I still, here we are, 15, 20 years later, and I don't do it as much, but I love music. It still impacts me. But the real career I wanted to go down, so it sounded a little weird to some people, I wanted to be a homicide detective. And
that's
the reason why is because I did.
It's a weird one.
Well, no, I did because when I was 18, my best friend was, he was murdered. And it took it like, and I remember them going through and like doing all the investigation, and it took them like a year before they caught somebody and whatnot. And I was always like, I want to do that. I want to be the ones that go and put people away, Then I realized schooling was just too much. And I was like, man, I don't want to go to school for 4 years. And this, I actually went, I did a whole year in criminal justice. And I realized after that, I was like, Yeah, so then I did a full year in audio production, and I ended up going to school for music instead.
Wow,
But
that's almost like a weird circle.
exactly like I started out, I wanted to do music, and then it moved on to wanting to be, in law enforcement, and then it ended up what I finished was in music. But now what we do a podcast, and I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of the same engineering, recording, all that. So I think it falls hand in hand.
Yeah, it's weird. You actually kind of in a roundabout way made your way back to the
Right.
music thing, right? And
Right.
that's so interesting. So both of you have that red thread. I didn't even have to pull it out. It's very obvious. You made this easy.
Don't let him blow himself up too much, though. I bought him a gorgeous guitar for Christmas. Not this past Christmas. The Christmas before, we went shopping. He picked it out, got an amazing deal. This past Christmas, he actually bought my son a guitar for himself so they can play together.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think my son has touched his guitar more in the past 2.5 months than this one has in over a year. But
listen, I got
he'll get around to it, and when he wants to, it's there.
I got a Fender acoustic electric. I need an amp. I keep telling her I need an amp to play it.
And I forget.
That's fair.
But-
That's a fair ask.
But I love music. I don't know. It's just, and I can play the guitar, but I'm not like mad crazy at it. Maybe if I was,
Right.
it would be different. I'd probably play all the time, but I only know so many chords, and I don't want to play the damn same chords over and over.
I hear you. If you could be one in one band, what would it be?
Oh, like a famous band?
Any band.
No, like
Yeah,
I said,
any
but does it have to
band.
be like a famous band? Like if I was
I'm-
to join an established band, or like a genre?
Yeah. Do both. Go
Oh.
genre, then go a layer deeper.
Okay, well, see, I'm a jukebox, so my playlist is crazy. So for me, if it was personal, I grew up doing hip hop. Like that was me. Like I'm a hip hop
I
head.
did not
so
see that coming.
I grew up doing
That's awesome.
hip hop.
Eric
Rapping
has a CD too.
rapping was the first. Yeah, I've made CDs before. I've done small tours, this, that, and the third. I was young, but nowadays,
That's awesome.
if I was to Kill Switch Engage is like one of my favorite metal bands, and I would absolutely love to be in a metal band. Like I would love it. But I want to be a vocalist, not singing, because I can't sing for crap. But I would like to like a Linkin Park style where, like I would do like the hip hop vocals, and then you'd have someone else do all the crazy screaming and singing. That would be my dream.
That's cool, but I want to know how we went and skipped over the hip hop artist portion of what you wanted to be when you were growing up. It's a pretty key detail to leave out there.
Dude, I grew up on like Eminem and Tupac, me too. That was like my childhood, and I started writing at like 13, 14, and by 16 I had an album recorded, and I was with a group, and I did music for a while. And then then I had gotten married, and when I got married and I had my kids, my ex-wife at the time, she's just like, you're too old to do music. Like, you need to focus on being a dad. So like I literally put all my music on the back burner, and I kind of had some resentment for that, because like music was my outlet. And and so I kind of felt a certain way about it. But then I got divorced, and then I was like, great, I'll do music again. And then
that's really sad. That's actually really sad.
I'm not knocking her or nothing like that, but like that was like my drive. And yeah, but it really was like, it was basically just being told like, you can't do this because you're too old, or you need to be a dad, or this, that. And there's plenty of people out there that are way older than me that are still rocking it, and they're fathers, and they're still living their dream and whatnot. And for me, and I have songs, all kinds of stuff written and whatnot. I don't know, maybe sometimes I still get in the same headspace, like, well, what if I am too old? Like, shit, and I'm 35. What if this? That's why I don't really do anything as much as I want to.
That's interesting, because I wonder if that's some sort of like response to.
It's a response to being rejected.
Right. Yeah, you said it better than me.
Yeah, it's a response to that, because it's, what if I pour my heart and soul into this, and I show you it, and you say, nah,
You're too old.
You're too old.
You're not good
or
enough.
It's and then it's just like, because my whole life was being rejected. And when I was doing music and there was a high passion in me, when I was told that I basically shouldn't do it anymore, that's me being rejected. So like, do you know how many times I've written stuff I want to show her, but I'm like, no, because I don't want to get that feeling of rejection.
Wow. No, I understand that. I experienced that as well. And you have these moments, and I've had one recently where I'm just like, oh, like there are fundamental things about me that the person I'm with has to appreciate. I don't always have to agree, but they have to appreciate like the way I think or the things I do. So I would imagine you want to be in that kind of relationship where you can show something you've written or shown something you've performed. And I got to ask, Brianna, is he allowed to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Last time, I think it's been almost a year since he recorded. We didn't have all this stuff, and he literally, like, he took a sock and stuff like that. Like, he did all sorts of stuff, and he'd go up in the room and close the door and record. And he just, he gets in his way.
Yeah,
But I've never told him no. I never had him stop, but he definitely gets in his way.
But also, I'll be honest, she can agree to it. We have different tastes in music. She will even tell me half the time when I'm playing, so we're on a road trip, she goes, oh, I tune the music out half the time. So for me, it's like, the genre that I'm going to bring her, she's not primarily into. So it's like, it's going to be hard to like get into it. And like, I'm not saying that, but that's how I feel.
I think too, like one thing that we've learned about each other is like he expresses himself through music. And I can listen to a whole song and then not tell you a single word from the song.
That's how I am too, so I can understand that.
Like,
but then, so you're just kind of
while
like
I'm listening
approaching
to it,
that.
I can tell you the words, but afterwards, I don't know.
It's almost like you guys can both enjoy it, but you have like different angles you're enjoying it from.
Oh, absolutely.
I like the tune more than the words.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm the same way.
Yeah.
People ask, like, I'm the guy that's like, oh, there's this song and this happened, and then it sounded really, and it was this person maybe, but that's about
it.
Dude,
I'm a jukebox. You literally put on my YouTube playlist. I have everything from oldies to hip hop to metal to country. I mean, and I know like. I know all the hit songs on different eras and whatnot. And I love music. Like music, I love.
I think the only thing I really tune out that you play is like the screamo rock,
which is like one of my favorite. Like it's one of my favorite. I think genres of music.
My kids enjoy his music more than I do.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
Brianna,
I was dying. By the way, I was dying to ask you that when we were talking after recording last time, but I kind of sometimes don't like to know everything.
So we met. I had a platform, a different platform than this, one that I used to be a part of, but I had a
which was what?
I had to step away from it because there was some shady stuff going on behind the scenes, which kind of sucked. I went from doing lives with 20, 30,000 people watching me to just not even be able to go live because of the stuff that happened. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm glad that it got brought to my attention and I paid attention instead of turning a blind eye to it because a lot worse could have happened.
Yeah.
So I had met this girl through there, and then she met somebody that Jared knew, and she was like, oh, hey, I'm going to go, tell my story. Here, check out this video. These are the people I'm going to sit down with. And Jared was in the video. And I showed him the message. I think last summer I showed it to him. And I responded to her and I was like, the guy on the left is hot. And that was him. So I started following the podcast and I hopped on his live one day and we've talked every day since.
Wow. How long ago was that?
Almost 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago. Wow.
The other year and a half, so almost 2 years ago.
Yep. He lived in Oregon at the time, and then he moved to Arizona, and he moved out here to New York last year.
So how did it finally happen? Did you just keep stalking his lives?
No, 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 it was we.
That sounds a little funky.
I accidentally. She says I accidentally, but I know I didn't accidentally. I accidentally inboxed her my number, and we
And
were
then
Oh,
said,
it's a
"Oops, that was
common
her saying."
mistake. It
we
just
were
automatically happens
talking about
sometimes.
like we were talking like on a different subject, and anyway, so we ended up just started talking, and we started dating before we even met each other like in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought he was married when I first met him. So even though I was attracted to him, I don't cross those boundaries.
Yeah.
I do not cross those
good.
boundaries. He had a platform, I had a platform, so we would just talk as networking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and oh hey, what do you have going on? Like, are you struggling with anything? You know, I would talk to him about stuff I was struggling with, but we never crossed those lines. You know, it was always
Yeah.
just like support and I talked to this person today and this is what's going on. Do you have any advice that I can give them? And vice versa. And then
Then she found out I wasn't married.
he sent me something inappropriate one day and I was like, hold on.
Oh, no. Wait,
I
was it
wasn't
a
married.
No,
was it a
no,
dick pic?
no,
Okay.
it was a
I'm not
meme. It
editing
was,
this out either, so I'm glad to hear that.
We don't do no dick pics.
it was a picture, something along the lines of putting my ankles on his shoulders.
Oh, my. Wow. Okay.
And
But once I did
Hey.
that, then I realized like
and it was the sweetest thing. He mailed me some flowers and asked me to be his girlfriend.
Aw.
And here we are.
yeah.
Someone else had
And
a
what
push me
was-
to do that though.
So you guys, that all happened before you met for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Like
So-
we dated what 2 months before we met.
No, you were out here within like 2 weeks.
Oh,
Fast,
okay.
yeah.
Well, okay. Within a month. Within a month, we were dating about a month, like officially dating, but we had talked for a little bit longer than that. But and then I flew out here one weekend, and
The
We
rest is
saw each
history.
yeah. So
Well, as a person who got engaged without seeing someone,
that was blind.
I
That was us.
can't I
mean, we
can't
got to
judge you
see.
for it. Yeah, but even like not meeting in person, I can't I get it. It's awesome. And it's cool that you guys vibed in real life too, because that would always be kind of the fear, right? As you fall in love with someone online and through videos and through chatting and through calls, and then you meet them in person and there's like just things that don't work.
Well, and don't get me
you
wrong,
know?
like we've had our fair share of, just like anybody else, but we've had
Oh,
our
yeah.
fair share of what vibes and what doesn't, and mistakes and this, that, and the third. But we've been able to get to a point where we've been able to come out on the other end of it, you know. And it's always gonna be a process and whatnot.
Of course.
But I started the Blaklist podcast, before we met, and again, like that's how she met, and then once I started doing it, and I told her, like, come on, like, all right, bring you on, like, so I got her on here with me, and now
Yeah. He had to push me because I still had some fears because of
bet.
what had happened before.
I've been asking her, like, hey,
I was on a platform for 3 years, and I trusted
Wow.
this person wholeheartedly. Like my whole following, everything was there,
Hmm.
and we were making money off of it. Like I do subscriber lives 3 days a week, and
Jeez.
like I was like pouring my heart and soul into it, and it was
What was the topic?
of what
Like what you would talk about?
I just self-care and recovery.
Self-care? Okay.
I teach people how to take care of their skin and, using new products and, I'd buy stuff and test it out for other people. And,
Yeah.
I'd have classes where people would pay me, they'd sit there and I'd teach them how to put on lashes. Like to me, like regular thing.
Right,
Other people, it's
right.
probably not regular, but, it was the start of COVID too, when a lot of that stuff was getting big.
and that I think
Yeah.
COVID really jumped for a lot of people, especially in the podcasting and social media space.
Yeah.
COVID was such a weird time because
It was the same. for
first
here,
of
too.
all, 4 years ago, if you need to like wrap your head around something, like
Yeah.
holy shit. Because I
Right?
feel like sometimes I feel like it went by so fast. Sometimes I feel like it went by so slow. But it's probably like trauma almost. Like I just remember specific day where it's like 2 months of not leaving the house. And then it's like, I remember like the day I realized, I'm like, we're never getting out of here. So it seems that way. But 4 years ago, and I think to your point, what that did is a lot of people started podcasting. But what happened was a lot of people didn't do well. Like they had developed mental health challenges, mental illness, addiction, and not having the social interaction, can cause so many issues for people. And I had met several people that had like never really had anxiety before, at least at a level where they needed to like talk about it with someone or be medicated, right? And it just like broke people. I honestly think it broke a lot of extroverts too, because they recharge from being around other people, and then that was taken away. So I think that was an issue too. But so you started the Blaklist during COVID?
Well, the idea started during COVID, and then the first time that I launched anything was 2022, the beginning of 2022. So the end of 21, I had already been sitting on the idea long enough, and I would always make excuses like, because I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so finally it was decided.
That was me for 10 years before I started mine. So.
Well, that's the thing. Like I had this idea and this vision, but I did not know what to do. So I sat there and finally it was like December, and I was like, listen, it's now or never. Like I'm either just going to jump in and fail and make my mistakes along the way till I succeed, or I'm just going to sit here and 2 years are going to go by and I'm still making the same excuses.
Yeah.
So I did. So I jumped in, and it took a year before anything really even took off. Like the whole year. It wasn't until this last year that happened.
Yeah, podcasting I had some crazy people that think you just like all of a sudden get paid for having a podcast. Like, oh my gosh, and I had a platform, and it's been a struggle, right? So starting from, that was always my fear, like my imposter syndrome when I wanted to start one, and it had been fantasy football, so many different things, so many different topics, news, politics. I love talking about that stuff. Yeah. And so I kind of myself was like, if I start this, like I'm going to just have to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And then what if nobody likes it and wants to hear what I have to say or what I think?
Yeah.
And then and it wasn't even that like they didn't think what I'd say was important. It's more so like I'm going to be putting all this work to get nowhere. And
or the fear of rejection.
The fear of rejection. Yeah.
I mean, people think just because we have a podcast and we're getting guests like yourself, and we're getting, athletes and different things, and they're like, oh, you must be making some good money. I'll make a dime off of this. Maybe once we get some sponsors, we can make some money off of it. But we work full time.
That's its own
That's
a
whole thing. But we work full time jobs and then come home and do this full time in itself. Yeah. But I'm still doing it because I'm not money. I didn't start it to make money. I started it to help people. Yes. But if I can make a living from it, then so be it.
Or supplement your income a little bit.
Exactly. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, it was a toss-up when I got out of work between coming home and taking a nap, or do I eat dinner?
Yeah.
Like, do I eat dinner or do I get some rest? And I'm like, no, we're gonna go eat.
I picked her up from work. We went to eat dinner, and then we got home about 6 o'clock, and we're like, cool, we got an hour. So then she took a nap.
I didn't actually fall asleep when I laid down.
Yeah,
it helped.
That's good.
I want to go back and touch on the COVID thing too. Like, I'm a silver lining type of person. I got sober right before COVID hit. I didn't even make 30
it was right before COVID. I was going to ask you. I saw it was.
I just celebrated COVID. 4 years on the 27th of February.
Wow! Congratulations on the 4 years, but also, what a horrible time to be in recovery.
I didn't even make it. I didn't even make it to 30 days, and the meetings were shut down, and that's what was keeping me sober because I was still living with active addicts.
Oh my gosh!
And trying to keep myself sober. So my meetings were my thing. And meetings got shut down, and within a week, I had an opportunity to move out to this small town that I'm in now, and I ran. And I'm still here. And I don't think that would have happened if it weren't for COVID. And it's really made me slow down my life and appreciate myself more. and love myself more and, be my own support when I used to rely on everybody else for support. So, as shitty as COVID has been, I don't think I would be where I am today if it weren't for the whole world shutting down, because it allowed me to shut my life down and focus on what I needed to for a little while. It's been
That
huge
is a
help.
silver lining, though. Can I
Yeah.
ask, when you left right when COVID started?
Probably like within
Or
a week. April 1st is
okay,
when I moved.
okay.
So,
And
um,
were you by yourself then, or with your kids, or like what was
nope.
your?
I moved out here with my kids and their father. We
Okay,
moved into his mom's house. He was trying to get clean too. And like I said, we were living with active addicts. And, with COVID shutting everything down and us having 2 young kids, why not move to a town that only has a population of 600?
right.
Like, why not? Let's take it. And what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You
And what
know?
was what was the hardest thing for you? Let me ask that again. Before you became sober, like, was it habitual? Was it um like a problem where you would be drinking all day? Were you functioning? Like, what was it? What was your situation?
I functioned. I worked, paid the
Okay.
bills, took care of my kids. My family didn't even know I was using until I went to an outpatient rehab.
Oh, okay.
They had no idea
Wow.
because
So
I had kids and I went there and the cops and CPS showed up at my mom's house to do a welfare check as I'm trying to get
Jeez.
clean. But that all worked out absolutely fine. But nobody even knew, and I took care of my kids and I took care of my life. But yeah, it was at first it started off as fun, and then it became every day, all day, nonstop. It was
That's
expensive.
yeah, it's interesting because I've had other people in recovery on my show, and I I think everybody's addicted to something. So
Mhm.
I don't I think
Yeah.
it's impossible to avoid addiction. It's just the way we're wired. It's just like, where does that come to? So I think we're all addicts, and we all pick our vices, and you're forced, unfortunately, to live with them and work with them or work through them or whatever that
Mhm.
is. But what I find interesting is there's some people who are, and I have some in my life too, but like, who it's like habitual, but they can't not do it. And then there's people who need alcohol to function, right? And can't,
Mhm.
and then have withdrawals if they don't have it and all that kind of stuff. The functioning piece of it is the piece that is kind of scary to think about long term for me, and hearing a little bit about your story, because when you're functioning with it, it's almost like masking that there's even an issue because you're still functioning. You're not
It's not that
losing your
bad.
job. Yeah, you're not losing your job. You're not falling down the stairs drunk at 6 a.m.
I was.
or
I was.
fair.
I
That
was,
we've
but then
all
I'd
been
have to
there.
work. I always say too, not everybody that uses drugs abuses drugs or uses substances abuses substances. There are
That's
the
fair.
people that can go balls to the walls and get drunk all weekend and do other drugs, and then come Monday morning, they're not touching it till the weekend again.
Yeah.
And there's just some of us that it changes the chemistry in our brain, and we need that.
Yeah.
That makes something a little okay. An addiction it's the obsessive behavior, basically OCD, and we all have those obsessive tendencies. It's just what we obsess over.
Right. And so again, congratulations on 4 years and a couple weeks now of
Yeah,
sobriety. That's exciting for you.
it
It's
is.
great to hear that. And how is it, like, what would you say is the number, obviously your health and not being drunk all the time, but like, what would you say is like the best piece about being sober?
Remembering, having a memory,
Wow.
and remembering everything, and being, just being present for my life instead of just being a zombie and walking through life. But it does suck too, because with getting sober, all those feelings are there, and I have to deal with them in a healthy way and learn how to deal with those in a healthy way. and it's not always easy. You know, Jared and I were just talking the other day, and, you know, I'm working with a therapist and I'm going through coaching and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm meeting with a new doctor on Monday and I'm thinking about switching my therapist and stuff. But I told him, I'm like, 2 years ago, I wasn't this person. Something's getting worse and I need to figure it out. Like, I can't even leave my house without puking. Like,
Is
the
it
anxiety is,
anxiety?
yeah.
Do you
You
know what
know,
do you know what the anxiety is stemming from, or is it just
no idea.
mm,
I don't want to self-diagnose, but I seen a clip of an episode and it makes sense. I'm not to the extreme yet, but I do have some of those characteristics and they're getting worse.
wow.
So, but I
Well,
wasn't like this 2 years ago. You know, I could get up, we could leave the house, I could do
yeah.
I'm good. Like, I can't even go to
Yeah.
work without throwing up.
Oh my gosh. Have you like pinpointed any moment that you think might have triggered it? That's
I'm
why you
trying
need
to
a better
figure out.
therapist?
Yeah. And I'm doing the coaching on top of it too, you know,
Yeah.
because that person is like a recovery coach. So we're trying to figure out, like, maybe if I change something about how I'm processing stuff and how I'm handling life, you know, because I've only been living for 4 years. You know, I've only been feeling stuff for 4 years. You know, so
That makes sense.
you know, it's all new, and just because I was doing good before, you know, I'm still new at this.
Well, we all have like that unprocessed trauma that's buried deep down inside, and you never know what's going to trigger that to come out or how it's going to come out.
Mhm. Nope.
Yeah.
Agree.
And he handles it pretty well too.
Yeah. I've dealt with it for a year and a half.
He feels my pulse and pushes, you know,
I do. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're okay. Your heart rate's all right. You're good.
I
But
took Walmart the other day. I came out. He's like, the whole store heard you throwing up. I'm like, well,
Oh, what
but
are you going to do?
I also sympathize and feel with her because I grew up with severe anxiety at one point where I would probably have to go to the hospital multiple times a week because I thought I was dying. So
Were you having panic attacks, anxiety attacks?
like straight panic attacks. Like it was bad. So for me, I didn't start getting, once I got sober, like my panic attacks started going away. But I felt that. And so when she feels that, like I know. Like I know,
Yeah.
like I'm not just like it's in your head, because like I feel it because I lived that for so many years. Like I was always the type where it was like, God, why did you give me this anxiety? Why the hell do I have to deal with this? Like it was that bad, where, you know. And so so I feel I know, and I resonate, and so that's why I try to like help her calm down. And I'm not saying I don't get anxiety, because there's been times I've definitely got
Oh
it,
yeah.
and I'll tell her, like, you know, and we'll talk to each other. We try to work through the distract each
Right.
other, and when we get into those anxiety
States.
attacks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what was Jared, what was your sobriety journey like?
Ooh,
Because
well,
how long have you been sober now?
I hit
So
5
mad
years
because
in October.
okay, I saw it on your Instagram, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and I
October
was
I
like,
hit.
I've been dating him for almost 2 years, and I have to look at his neck sometimes to figure it out.
oh,
I got
he
it,
got
you
you.
got it tattooed on my neck. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
it's like-
Is it every year?
No. I
Oh.
have Roman
Sobriety
numerals on
date.
my sobriety date.
Oh,
10,
cool.
16, 18. And
Wow.
so I've been yeah. I mean, I was just like Brianna, was functioning. Fentanyl, opiates, that was my drug
my
choice.
gosh.
And but I had a job, I had a career, I had a really damn good career.
What did you do?
I was a service tech. I was in you know, I was a service tech in the water treatment field. I used to travel all over the country and basically, you know, work on big giant water softeners and like water reclamation systems and different things like that. But sorry, I have to silence that because somebody was telling me. So my career, I was good. Like I made really good money. I think I was married 12 years, and it was probably 11 of those years that she did not know that I used and that I was an addict or anything like that.
Whoa.
I was good at pulling it off, but it wasn't until like the last, year of my recovery or of my addiction where I got involved with certain organizations and I was making money the wrong way, and I just started getting sloppy with everything. I lost my job. Like it was like I went from like
Was it related? Was losing your job related?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So essentially what it was I didn't realize how, when we're addicts, we're like, nobody knows, like nobody can tell, like we're good. And people tell.
I was the opposite. I thought everybody could tell, and apparently nobody knew. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, well, I guess I was better at hiding than I thought.
For me, like I hit it 100%. I hit it, but my boss at work started catching on of, I'd withdraw in the morning before I'd used again, and then I would call out of work until I was able to use, and then I'd go into work. And so anyways, they ended up catching on, and they finally told me one day, like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but like you're fired. But after I went back to work for those same very people, after 4 years, almost 4 years. But once I hit my 1 year recovery, I emailed them because they were like family to me. So I emailed them and I said, listen, I apologize for the way that I was when I was in active addiction. But I'm sober now. This is where it is. Like I'm at the point in my recovery where I'm making amends. And they were just like, we love you, like we didn't fire you to like hurt you, but we knew like, there was something going on. And they took me back to work for them, and I went back and I worked before I moved out here. Before I wrecked my motorcycle, I was working for them in Phoenix. I wrecked my motorcycle, broke my knee. I was out of work. And that's when I decided to come out here because I didn't have a job. Like I didn't really have anything. And the talk was always to move out here, but it was always like logistics. Like I got to make sure this is done and this is done and this is done. And when everything happened, when I got in my accident, like every single thing that was an excuse to not come out here was like gone. So I was like, well, guess it's happening.
The universe has a funny way of telling you what to do, and then when you ignore it, forcing you to. She hopped on
a plane, and she flew to Phoenix, and she got me, and we flew back together.
You make it sound so weird, like when I tell people that too, like, oh, I flew to Arizona and got him. Like I did it out of love. Is he he just broke his knee and had surgery and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna travel.
So you literally picked him up and had to carry him. Like he didn't have a broken leg.
I was walking with a cane, like all kind. Well, I was on crutches, but then I couldn't take crutches on the airplane, so she got me a cane, and then I started walking with a cane when I moved out here, and then I got healed up.
It was too like he was flying out here every month to come and see me, but sometimes twice a month. Little surprise, get out of work early on a Friday and come for the weekend type thing. And it was harder for me to go out there because I'm a probation. And I mean, my probation officer will let me travel whenever, but it was more of a hassle for me to travel than for him. So I went out there once, and I decided, let me come out again so I can meet some more of your family, and if you need somebody to push you in a wheelchair and stuff like that, like, I'll help you.
You guys are so sweet to each other. It's endearing.
On camera, she beats me up off of camera. No, she beats me up. It's all right. No, I love this woman. She pushes my buttons, and I do the same to her. But we love each other.
What was it? You don't have to detail us. What was what were you on probation for?
So I got complacent in my recovery, and this is like the second platform that I'm talking about this on.
If you don't want to, you don't
I'm on probation. It's something I've gotten more comfortable talking about. A year and a half into my recovery, only opiates and other things were, a problem. Alcohol wasn't a problem, I'm just drinking to de-stress. Well, I got a DWI with my kids in the car. And that's a felony, so I got put on felony probation. CPS got involved in my life for a year, and I was on drug court for a year. But I'm a silver lining type gal, and it was just extra accountability for me. CPS was extra help if I needed resources or I needed this or I needed that. And it was, it was nice having that extra reassurance that I was doing good after fucking up, so.
Good
And
for
because I
you.
was, on CPS for a year and drug court for a year, me and my probation officer have an amazing relationship, so I'm still on probation as of April 22nd. It'll be 2 years that I've been on probation, so I have another 3 years left.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That is it's brave for you to say that, especially because it was with your kids and everything that followed that. So,
That's
I think, I think you should be proud of yourself. One, for finding the silver lining and really holding yourself to a higher standard than you had previously. I mean, that's incredible growth out of a horrible situation where many people would fall worse into whatever hole they were in. So
that's why I have to. I always have to look, like they say, like manifesting stuff. If I'm like, oh, fuck, this happened. Oh, my life is ruined. Oh, I don't have my license. I live in a town where there's no public transportation. I have to call the drug court line Monday through Friday. And I'm working overnights. I'm working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. That line opens up at 7:30 in the morning. And then I have to find a ride to go get drug tested.
Wow.
And then
be able to do that Monday through Friday.
And then be able to sleep and get up with my kids at 2:45.
She's past that. She doesn't do that now. She's graduated.
Yeah. I only did that for the first year.
Even at that time, like
I was working full-time overnight, no vehicle. There's no buses here. There's no cab companies.
We have no Ubers, no nothing.
Nothing. So I'd have to call, and if my number got called, I had to find a way down. I had to stay awake after just working and being awake.
Yeah.
Take care of the kids. I'd have to stay awake and find a ride to go get drug tested. And then come home and get some sleep before I had to be up to get my kids off the bus again. But I fucking did it. I did it because I had to. And it's kind of crazy because there's things, if I don't want to do it, I don't do it now. And I look back at that and I'm like, you did it. Like, you're capable of doing it.
Yeah, you did. And you continue to every day. That's the difference is it's every day. And your approach is admirable.
I failed.
I was going to say ad-worthy. That's not a word.
I failed 2 screens, and it's not because I peed dirty. It's because I had no way of getting down there to screen. So because I didn't pee,
not getting screened.
Yeah, it was an automatic fail. But I mean, 12 months, 52 weeks of calling every single day for 52 weeks, and I only missed twice with not having a vehicle, no license. He wasn't living here. This was before I even met him.
That's like a bigger, brings to the front a bigger issue, I think, which is typically people who are in that situation are going to have less resources to get to the places they need to get, which means they're more likely to get the 2 failures or more or whatever, which is ultimately going to keep them in this bad situation where they can't get out of probation, they relapse, something happens to their kids. Like, this is that's a huge issue.
I got lucky though. It's because I was on CPS on top of drug court, and CPS put me on drug court. If I could not find a ride, I would contact them, and somebody would come out and pick me up and bring me.
I see.
So I got very lucky there.
Yeah, still, you're pretty resilient in that situation, again, to not just say, like, bad things are happening to me, screw this.
Yeah, I had to. If I wasn't, then I'd lose my kids, and that wasn't an option. So
that's admirable.
I fucked up enough. I was given a chance, another opportunity, and I wasn't going to waste it.
Yeah, that's, again, resilience. So what led, I know we talked a little bit about starting the podcast, but, your podcast is more about having guests and talking, right? It's about advocating for recovery, advocating for mental health. What was it like or what was the, deciding factors that were like, here's the direction we're going to take. Here's why these things need to be advocated for.
Yeah. So naturally it was about a year into my recovery when I've always been big into podcasting. Like I love, yeah, like I've always been like, I love listening and watching different podcasts and whatnot. And I mean, when about a year into my recovery, it was just like, there's no podcasts that are like mental health recovery based. I mean, now there's one on every street corner, and that's okay. But back then, there was nothing. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I think it would be really, really cool just to not only share my experiences with others, but just to share other people's experiences and just let people know, like, listen, if I was able to get sober and the guest is able to get sober, like, you sure as hell can get sober.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Like, you're not alone. Like, and that was always the main thing. And so I racked my brain on like what to call it, this, that, and I settled on the Blaklist podcast because, when you talk about things that are blacklisted, like these things that society doesn't want us to talk about, it's religion, it's mental health, it's sexual abuse, domestic violence, just all
Epstein's
kinds of,
Island.
yeah, and so like I wanted to
talk about politics here.
So I wanted to create a platform that was like that we could just be authentic and be uncensored and just be ourselves. And I've been on plenty of people's podcasts where I've had to censor myself, and I'm okay. I respect that. But
you don't have to do that here, by the way.
I wanted to show the true form, especially with somebody that's dealing with addiction and mental health, and I want, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, even in recovery. And I wanted us to be able to like come on here, and if you're having a fucked up day, like be able to say like, or if you're fucking up and slipping, like this is where I'm at. Like I have an issue. I didn't want it to be like you can't talk about that because we have to be like none of that. So for me, it was just come as you are. Who you are behind closed doors is be who you are here. And we ran with it, and it was just like, I looked out the very beginning, like my first month of even doing anything, I was able to link up with two. Now they're pretty big. One of them's got 400,000+ subscribers on Facebook or followers on Facebook and whatnot, and she had only like 10,000 when I met her.
Oh, wow.
And she kind of like linked up with me and like shared her story live and co-signed for me. And I always give her, even though we don't really talk now, I always give her that credit because she did help me.
Mm-hmm.
She did help, like she put my name out there, and that's how I started getting some traction. And then it just kind of just kept going up from there. But it's a whole year of like getting hardly any views, or anything like it was just, and it wasn't until I moved out here. I moved out here in February of last year. Valentine's Day of last year. And I ended up buying, I went on Amazon, I ended up buying mics and interface, and I just bought the whole setup. And I said, I'm doing it. Like I'm doing it now. Like before, I was doing it off my cell phone, like, recording on StreamYard off my cell phone and whatnot. And over time,
don't let Todd hear you say that, because
I know, right? No, Todd knows because we talked about it.
I'll be like, there's times I'm like, oh, I texted you this, or I texted you the article or whatever for our show, Mental Health Headline Hot Takes. And I'll be like, wait. And he's like, oh, I had my phone already set up, because he has to set it up like, 10 minutes beforehand. So make sure everything works. So we can't tell him about that.
So it's funny too, for a while, Jared had a microphone in front of him when him and I first met, and he was still in Oregon. He had a microphone in front of him as a prop.
It wasn't even connected.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Because I was trying to look professional.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was recording.
You don't have the mic and some jib or stand, like you're not a podcaster.
Yeah. So I was like, so I was doing it from my phone, but over time I was able, I bought a couple MacBooks, but like we ended up getting like her own setup, this setup, we got like an external monitor, like, and we're
a fucking TV.
It's a monitor. It's a flat screen TV that is an external monitor.
His son's gonna steal it back from us this summer.
But we're leveling up. Like right now, I'll be honest with you. Like we shoot everything from a webcam. But
so do I.
Here in a couple months, I'm gonna go drop a good $600-700 on a nice 4K camera, and we're gonna start changing up our our quality and whatnot. Like
Mhm.
last year, I always said that last year was getting established and getting our name out there. This year is leveling up and bringing quality. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
it is. Like a lot of my old episodes that before she even came on, like I'll admit they're shitty, but I used what I had.
It's all you can do.
Moving forward, I guarantee you, like our quality is just going to just step up. The editing, between the video quality, the editing, like everything is lighting,
Yeah.
all's gonna step it up. So, and
That's
that's where we're at,
exciting.
you know. So,
And now our light we steal from the kids' room.
Yeah.
We bring their lamp downstairs.
well, they got a lamp and it has 3 different spotlights on it. So
Oh my
I bring
gosh.
it,
So
I
we're
bring it down, I plug it in, and I put one
And
each
then when they
direction.
come home and need it, they steal it and bring it back home.
But this is what I'm talking about. Like we started in this closet behind us, which is a Harry Potter closet under the fucking stairs. And then
I can confirm that because I watched a clip and I was like,
Yeah.
what whose walk-in closet is he in?
and then
And
but
we were like, oh,
we were like this on top of each other, and it was
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But then as
Sorry.
time went, so now we kind of and now we're in a bigger space. But the next step's going to be getting an actual studio, and that's going to take some time, you know.
this
Mhm.
is my dining room table, and that's why I keep picking at it because I'm not normally at it with my kids. And I'm like, Jesus, there's like chunks missing, there's stuff stuck to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I bet, kid.
holy shit.
And
Although-
I know we got to wrap up here soon anyway. So
Yeah, and my counters are like that too, and I'm kind of a neat freak, so that's
yeah.
it's
My
not just
biggest thing is like there's like chunks missing out of the table in some spots, and I'm like, how the fuck did this happen?
So I
Oh,
want to ask you guys before I give you the chance to ask me anything. We can obviously, your podcast will be in the link, but the Blaklist podcast, I was just a guest. You had some pretty good guests, like you had said, which I think is great. And what I appreciate about it is the letting people be themselves. And I think one of the reasons we kind of all bonded a little bit to do these shows was because we kind of have the same mission, which is let's let people tell their story. Let's debate topics in some instances. Let's learn together. I like to learn, and I like to learn from people's experiences, not, technical, whatever, like the psychology of it all is very cool, but the personal experiences are what really connect people. So I do appreciate the work you're doing. To end my last question for each of you, I'd love you each to answer it, is you have been, and as you said, Jared, like it's not easy even in recovery, but you both have been, you've survived a lot. You've been resilient. What's one piece of advice that you would share to someone who maybe wants to get sober or even doesn't feel great about themselves right now, and advice that helps you guys get through your experience?
say what I always love saying is no matter how many bridges you've burned, that bridge to recovery is always there. That's one bridge you cannot burn. And it's not just a filter, the grass is greener on the other side. And I just think that's important for people to remember is no matter how many times you fuck up, you still can cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Keep coming back.
So, and there's a whole community of
I just got goosebumps.
all different communities. You'll find somebing somebody that you can relate to, and it's not, like who was it? Lil Wayne said, we all live in the same house but have different views.
Well, Drake
Was
said
it?
it,
All
but
right.
it was on a Lil Wayne
Oh.
and Drake song. But Drake said the lyrics. Yes, mine.
Yeah.
Sure, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was gonna say, and
I was
Jared.
being proactive, all right? So again, I don't know. I like these little two-parters. Is first step is just do it. Nike, just do it. No, but literally, it doesn't matter. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect in order for you to start. Just do it. Pick up the phone. Have someone hold you accountable. And when you establish that first part of just doing it and just starting the process, no matter what that may look like, because recovery is not a one size fits all. There's so many ways to recover, but once you start that process and find what works for you, treat every single day as if it's day one. Doesn't matter if you're 20 years sober, if you're 20 days, or you're 20 hours, because at the end of the day, Brianna said it before, complacency. When you get complacent in your recovery, you get lazy. When you get lazy, you start, you just start backtracking, and exactly. And so I have to treat every single day as if it's day one, because I know that all I have to be sober for is this exact moment right now. I can hope to be sober for the next 20 years, but I can't guarantee that I will be, but I can only hope. But what I can guarantee is I'm sober for today, for right now. So treat every day as if it's day one.
And I want to tell people too, like, looking at us and, how long we've been, in recovery for and stuff. I can speak for myself, and I know I can speak for Garrett too. This is the first time I tried. This is just the time that it worked, and when it's going to work, it's going to work. Don't beat yourself up for it not working this time. Oh, I'm never going to get it. Like,
keep trying.
You'll get it when you're supposed to get it.
Some people, they start 15, 20 times. Guess what? Doesn't mean you're a failure because you didn't make it the first 10 times. So guess what?
That's the last. Keep coming back.
Keep coming back. It works if you work it, and keep coming back. So
I got goosebumps again. Well, I feel I feel like, let me tell you, I drink more than I should, but I would say, I'm someone I've talked about that before. Like, if it's something like during COVID, especially because I got into making. I've always been into making cocktails, but I got into like perfecting cocktails, and in order to do that, what's that?
Like mixology.
Yeah, and I had always been into it, but I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to make the perfect Negroni, and then I would start at like 6 p.m. Then it would go to 5. And then I'm like, well, I'm done with meetings. It's 4, and then I'm making like 5 Negronis, and I just remember So anyway, my point of telling that story is it doesn't make something wrong with you to like investigate yourself and your habits and anything there. And I think there's such a stigma around it still. And it's not even just alcohol or drugs. It's like, if you admit it, like, what are people going to think of you, right? If you talk about it, people are going to think of you. And if you're in a group like you were, Brianna, where it's like everyone's an addict and you're socially pressured to do so, it's just really hard for people to come to terms with it sometimes and even start that journey. Yeah, and that's why I think it's important to circle up that long spiel to say that when it's your time, it's your time. And that's when it's supposed to be. And that just keep trying. Just admit it. To do accept it.
What is it called?
Reflection.
Yeah. And looking for a different word. But do some self-reflection, because you know what? It's easier for you to start using than it is to get an addict clean. You will use with them before you can get them clean.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's sometimes it could just be the people that you hang around with. And you can get rid of one person out of the equation and the drinking becomes less frequent. It doesn't have to stop, but you will use with somebody before you can get them to stop using.
And that goes to show you the power of influence and who you have around you.
That's why we're trying to make a positive influence on people.
So last time we talked, it was all about me and all that because you guys were interviewing me. I really respect you and appreciate you guys for being like real people and actually having empathy for others and realizing that, hey, if we come together on these things and have these conversations, like, we can make better connection with each other, which we need right now. And I think too, the last thing I wanted to say, you both are still in it, right? You're living in it every day. And Brianna, you've got your parole and so, the anxiety, all of that. So again, the resilience, it goes beyond, from my perspective, it seems to go beyond just, your addiction. You're not defined by it. You've got resilience everywhere, all around you.
We're all human.
Yeah.
We're all human. That's my main message.
Daughter's probably going to think that we forgot about her.
Okay, really quickly.
Sorry, I don't mean to
Okay.
cut you off.
Oh,
I'm just-
no, you're fine. I'm yapping
She
away.
ended at 8 o'clock, so she's probably wondering where the heck we're at.
Okay, I'll give you one chance to ask me a quick question, and then we can tell people where to find you in the podcast.
You.
I was gonna ask this before when we were talking about how me and Jared met, but I figured I'd wait. How was it for you? And, I don't want to go back to the TV show because I know there's a lot of personal questions that I could ask too. How was it for you to trust your own instincts and blindly meeting somebody that they're being genuine and this is who they are? Because people lie so easily. So you have to trust your own intuition, and that's hard sometimes. It's really hard to believe in yourself enough to trust yourself.
That's a really good question. And it's funny that you asked that because I was in a relationship right up until pretty much right before COVID. And it was this gut feeling that I had that like she was right. And I remember when I was interviewing for the show, I would, and the producers, this is where like the psychological manipulation is crazy. They know everything about you and you don't even realize you're giving it. But, I talked about this relationship and how it was like, what really shook me about it was that I had this feeling and I was wrong. And now I don't trust my intuition. And my intuition is how I connect with people anyway. Like I can sense most of the time. Sometimes it's interesting. I can sense a connection. Sometimes I mistake the connection is my intuition is that we're going to be friends. And I think it's like someone I don't like. So they kind of, once in a while, there's a few instances where it gets switched, where I think I'm not going to like that person, but I have like a visceral connection to them or an intuition about them. And then it turns out we'll become really good friends. But then I also have that most of the time where it's like, oh, I'm going to really connect with this person. So I had that. And then I felt shook because it wasn't right. And so I was talking about this and going in, I was like, my intuition, like if I trust my gut, like I'm going to question because now I question my gut. So it was a real thing, like for me in therapy and all of this getting kind of when before I even thought I was going to go on the show, before they even reached out to me, I was kind of like trying to build up trust in my gut and my intuition and accepting that it could be wrong or accepting that it was something else that was there, that like a tether of some sort. And so when I got in there, I went through, all this stuff at the beginning and I really connected with Danielle. And then the more we talked, I could like just feel the connection and feel how authentic she was being. And I, with 15 women and 15 men there, like people are showing some intention other than to get, married. They're showing that. So.
Oh, we see it.
Yeah. So it was hard to not trust it because I felt it so much. And I think I have like a level of empathy, which I hate sometimes, but it's also such a strength of people to have it, I think. I feel like that connection that we had it felt so strong that even if like I was pretty confident after day 3, and then like we just focused so much on it and my gut never told me a single no up until the wedding was coming. And that's when and it wasn't a no, I don't want to be with you. It was oh my God, it's a real marriage. Like, are we there? Yeah. So there was never a question for us of whether we were going to be together after the wedding. It wasn't even a question if we were going to get married until it became a question like a few days before when we're like, this is a lot. This has been a lot. And so that gut feeling was, it was there. And I trusted that intuition, even though it had been damaged, and I had to like repair that trust in myself.
Gotta be scary though. Yeah. Even at the same time, it's still gotta be scary.
Well, maybe I'll share some more scary stories with you offline sometime. But well, thank you. That was a great question. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for being so open and vulnerable, and also the Blaklist, starting that and trying to create space for people to be more open about things that aren't easy to be open about. So where can people find you on social media and find your podcast?
It's simple. TheBlaklistPodcast.com.
There's no C in it.
BLAKLIST, the blacklistpodcast.com. It has everything that you need, from the episodes to the social media links to to where you can listen to it and whatnot.
You can apply to be a guest.
If you're interested in being a guest or you want to reach out, there's an intake form. You can go on there to the contact. You can fill it out. Somebody from the team will get back to you, meaning someone from the team, meaning one of us.
I know.
And I don't know when this is going to air, but the episode with Nick is airing Monday, the 11th. So
okay.
So
this will be after that.
So if you guys are listening to this, his episode's already out now. So go check it out on the blacklistpodcast.com.
I'm just going to
tell you what.
Real quick too.
We
Sundays
can throw
I start in.
Oh, I was just going to say, we'll throw the links down there. We'll throw the link to my episode down there as well.
Perfect.
I am starting FTK Mom Talks on Sunday for any moms that have to unwind and talk about shit and say stuff that they can't say to other people without them looking at them like they're crazy. So right now it's Sundays at 3. With the summer coming and us riding the motorcycles, that's going to change. It might just change days of the week, but kind of trying to create a safe space for moms.
I love that. That's great too. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for your time today. Go pick up your kids and we'll talk later. My dog's going nuts.
All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.